Alright, we're gonna read all 11 chapters of Adventure just in one sitting, because I think that's the best way to do this story. But you know, if you don't care for the adventure stories side quest, then you guys you don't have to watch this video. I will leave timestamps for each chapter, I think. I'll probably leave a timestamp for like each of the 11 chapters and everything, but I want to show off the whole story, especially because it minor spoiler alert, but not really, because I read the first 2 chapters while streaming the game. But it's going to, it references Marivel, the Crimson Noble, so I think that's really cool. Also, I just, you know, I want to include the whole story because, like, why not? I think it's a cute little story. So, we're going to do that. I'm going to reread the chapters I did, so I'm just going to go from chapter 1 to 11. What's up, Caitlin? Isn't it weird how words can give you lots of energy? It's not like you eat them. Like when you come home and we talk, I get all excited with lots and lots of energy. You are adorable. Sometimes I can't stop talking. Oh, do I have to use the adventure book? So, yeah, alright. Wait, where's adventure 10? Do I have to sort? Event items. Perfect. So, I believe the 11th book is you have to read number 10 and then you'll get number 11? Or do I talk to Catherine for that? Chat. While I was cleaning your room, I found this book from the bottom of all your research materials. I think it's a book Caitlin's been wanting to read. Would you read it to her? Yeah, there's Adventure 11. Get all 10 of them and then talk to Catherine. But yeah, here we go. We have 11 chapters to go through. I don't know how long this will take, but let's do it. I think it'll be fun. It's gonna be one video, so this will be a long video, like close to an hour, however long. We'll see what happens. This will be a longer video though, because I don't think dividing the chapters into multiple videos would work well. I think one long video with timestamps is better. Here we go. Read her the story. I slipped through the back door while the radio filled the air with piano sonata. Crossing the backyard, I peeked through the window to see Grandma knitting under the light of the lamp. Now's my chance, I thought as I opened the fence and darted away with my homemade rubber band airplane in my hands again. Heading straight for my destination, I ran up the mountain. Patches of flowers lit pale blue from moonlight swayed with my footsteps. Yo, I get to look at this art too, that's really nice. Reaching the open riverside field far from town, I took a short breath and walked toward the stream. The cold air sneaks into the neckline of my short-sleeved shirt. Oh, it's cold. Looking up at the full moon that paints the world blue, my breath turned white. Although it's just past August, autumn has already begun in these mountains. On days like this, when the temperature drops greatly at night, it's a great time to take advantage of the wind updrafts to fly my plane. I ready my aircraft and wait. The time is ripe, go! I release my beloved machine, SK-13, into the sky and it successfully catches the upward current. Yay, just as I calculated. Huh? My SK-13 kept floating on the draft and drifted along without lowering altitude. Hey, how far is it gonna fly? Having no idea what to do, I chased after it. Ugh, seeing where the craft landed, I gasped. The dark silhouette of an old, derelict castle. It's the house of the blood-sucking monsters of the night. But I can't just leave my first successful aircraft behind. Dragging my shaky feet, I head towards the castle. It's spooky. My body shakes as I look up at the gates, carved with devil ornaments all over it. Do you think I'm chicken? Maybe so, but I'm just an 11-year-old. I don't think anyone would blame me. There's no use standing around, Jack. You gotta go. I pumped myself up and opened the gates. Climbing up the crumbling stairs, I looked down on the ruins from the terrace. A cracked goddess idol was looking up at me with vacant eyes. The castle must have been beautiful in its day. How sad is it to see it so run down? Oh well, I'm not here to be sentimental. It should be around here. Ugh. Pushing myself through the broken fence, I found what was left of my SK-13 and left off a long sigh. What tough luck. Feeling exhausted, I sank down and leaned against a fence. Suddenly, I felt a looming presence behind me. As I swiftly stood up, something jumped at me from the darkness. Is it the rumored monster? Ah! I rolled forward and turned to see what was behind me. I turned pale as I saw my would-be assailant. There it stood with glowing red eyes, a wolf with steel blue fur. Oh, this is Lucide, isn't it? I let off a pitiful scream as I avoided its lunge. Having no weapons or special skills, I can't expect to win against a wolf just by evading its attacks. I started losing my breath and my legs grew heavy. I can't turn my back to him and run away either. And laughed at me. Oh, Jack, to die so young at the time. Is that a typo? I can't turn my back to him and run away either. And laughed at me. I feel like that's a typo of some kind, or a punctuation error. Oh, Jack, to die so young at the tender age of 11. No, I can't die yet. I opened my eyes wide and stared into his. Glaring at each other, I slowly nudged toward the opening in the terrace fence. When I reached a point, I looked away. It jumped towards me with incredible speed. Just as I planned, I jumped towards the wolf with a rolling somersault. Please make him drop from the terrace. My prayer was not heard. The wolf jumped over my head, but twisted his body to avoid the opening in the fence. The sound of falling rocks crashed. The wolf let off an irritated snort and leapt at me with graceful bound. It's the end! Oh God, help me! But the deadly blow I expected never came. I opened my eyes cautiously. That's when I saw it, a small shadow coming out of the moonlight, a red ray of light fired from its finger. As I stood breathless, the wolf slowly dropped in front of me. A long cape flapped gently in the breeze. Landing when the light tapped, the shadow stood in front of me. What the? I couldn't believe my eyes. The shadow belonged to a cute girl. As I sat there, wonderstruck, she snapped her fingers and called a small machine that was floating in the air. So the motor sound I heard came from this, I thought while trying to regain my senses. Are you alright? Asked the girl with a rather high voice. As I nodded up and down, she smiled faintly. Good, so what brings you here? She ran her fingers through her long blonde hair curled at the tips. Her hair was very pretty, but when I looked at her eyes, I broke into a cold sweat. Her eyes are all red. Is she the blood-sucking monster? Before I knew it, I was screaming out. Please, I don't taste good. Watch me slide back on the ground, she smiled with a strangely sad face. From between her red lips, long white fangs glowed. She quietly approached me as I sat half frozen with fear. I have no interest in a youngster's blood. You haven't answered my question yet. What brings you here? The long iris of her eyes glared at me. I felt like a mouse hunted by a cat. I came for my aircraft. Aircraft? She asked while tilting her small head. Yeah, here it is. I showed her the aircraft in my hands. Don't be so stiff. You need not be so frightened. Laughing wryly, she took the craft into her hands. How can I not be petrified? It's impossible to feel relaxed in this situation. With a serious expression on her face, she examined the shape of the wing and rubber band power mechanism. It felt kind of awkward, as if she was a teacher grading a test in front of me. It's built well for a youngster, living only 10 years or so, that is. She grinned as she returned the craft to me. Thanks, I guess. Hearing my snotty remarks, she broke a smile again. My apologies, I meant it as a compliment. As a Crimson Noble, I'm not well versed in human nature. Huh? A Crimson Noble? I said with a dumbfounded voice. Did I hear that right? But Crimson Nobles, they commonly appear in comic strips as the immortal, beautiful, and legendary race of Nightwalkers in search of human blood. So the girl in front of me is telling me she's one of these Crimson Nobles? That's correct. Nodding with an air of arrogance, she indeed shows characteristics of the legendary Crimson Noble. So, what do you intend to do with the aircraft? I wasn't about to tell her everything, but she did save my life, and I was quite rude to her, wasn't I? I was experimenting with it so I can one day make an aircraft large enough to soar in the sky with. I see. That's quite an ordeal, she said in a patronizing manner. What kind of answer is that? It's not like I'm doing this as a joke. Feeling flustered, my mouth slipped. It's not nice to laugh at someone's dream after you asked to hear about it. This was the first time I ever told this to anyone. Oh, I was not laughing at your dream. And what's so funny? Without heeding to my question, here, don't get so touchy. Perhaps I can help you achieve your dream. She then pressed a button on the mechanical band wrapped around her waist. Oh, I screamed again, surprised much more than last time. I think even a grown-up would have screamed loudly at this one. The place that was a ruin just a second ago was now a shiny new castle. Holy jeepers, the girl held out her hand towards me and led me into the castle. Inside the castle were machines that I'd never seen before. I was still stunned, but I followed her quietly. Passing through several rooms, she opened the double doors to a big room. Oh wow. The room was filled with books 10 times, no, hundreds of times bigger than the school library. This is incredible. I was awestruck finding books like The Basics of Wind Power and The Lost Flying Machine that I always wanted. That is really nice Marivelle art. I like that. This is really good. I kind of wish they had like dialogue prompts, like to tell who's talking, like Marivelle's talking, narrator's talking, etc. I kind of wish they had like the names of the characters talking because it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. How was it? Do you like it? Turning towards her, she was smiling with her arms crossed. There are many books here that will help in your research. Come here to read whenever you like. I'll set a transporter connecting to the town for easy access. That's very generous of you, but why are you so kind to me? My fear of her was long gone. It was strange, but there was something in common between me and her that made me drop my guard. Well... She paused to choose her words. Well, what? I know. I'll answer you when you have successfully constructed the aircraft and take me to the sky with you. What kind of answer is that? Remember, it's a promise. She chuckled as she leaned against the bookshelf. Trying to thank her, I realized. Hey, what should I call you? You seem to need to learn common social graces, said the girl with an impish smile. Have you ever been taught to introduce yourself first before asking a person's name? I guess you're right. I scratched my neck and straightened up. My name is Jack Beckson. I'm an 11-year-old living with my grandmother in Quartley, south from here. Quartley is a town in Wild Arms 1? No, it's Wild Arms 2. It's a town in Wild Arms 2, I remember it. Nodding firmly, she faced me and said, I'm Marivelle Armitage, master of the Crimson Castle. Nice to meet you, Marivelle. Marivelle shook the hand I held out and grinned. This is how I met Marivelle. That was really cute. Oh, I can't wait to read more. That's really cute. Alright, Adventure 1 is done. Depending on how long this is, maybe I'll divide it into 2 videos. We'll see. It might just be 1 video. It might be like 2. It depends on how long the video turns out when I read all 11 chapters. Alright, Chapter 2. Let me take a drink. My grandma had a habit of saying, life is a strange thing, but it's very true. By the way, Chapter 2, tea time. I should probably read the chapters first. Even if the Crimson Noble legend is true, that they are blood-feeding monsters, the castle library and existence of Marivelle was too tempting to resist. And the fact that all of this was my own secret made my heart dance. I couldn't help chuckling to myself while I read the basics of wind power. Are you reading something funny? Being caught laughing by yourself is quite embarrassing. No, it's nothing. She chuckled as I tried to compose myself in front of her. Jack, care for some tea? I would like to know what kind of lives humans live in this age. That goes the same for me. I'm interested in the Crimson Noble's life too. Settled. Then let me call Red and Blue to set up the table. Marivelle closed one of her eyes and snapped her fingers. These things are red and blue? Correct, are they not cute? Yeah. How nice. I just don't get what girls consider cute. I secretly sighed while watching a pair of spherical robots, one red, one blue, cleverly carrying a tray. Picking up a small marble patterned plate of sweets and a pair of teacups, they served hot tea for us. Thanks. Their big eyes twinkled as if they said, You're welcome. I guess they are kind of cute. Marivelle took a saucer with a blue flower printed on it and gracefully carried the sweet to her mouth. Huh? Marivelle, you're a Crimson Noble, but you can also eat normal food? Of course I can. Having tea and sweets is a lady's pastime. Is that how it is? Yes. Okay, then I'll go ask the girls in class about it next time. You do that. Blowing to cool off the hot tea, we engaged in a somewhat silly conversation. While taking in the sweet scent of herbs from the tea, I hurriedly bit into the sweet morsel, which melted into my mouth. How do you like our sweets? Marivelle asked with a smiley face. Can I give you an honest opinion? Of course. It doesn't have any texture at all. And it's not that sweet either. I like it more sugary and crunchy. Hearing my answer, Marivelle bristled and her eyebrows raised. No crunch? Not sweet enough? Of course not. We carry no such barbaric taste in our blood. You said I can be honest, and I never said it tasted bad. It's really good, but it melts away in one bite. Don't you feel it should last longer? I absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. And I'll bring some of our barbaric sweets next time. It's really nasty. I said with a dreamy face, remembering the taste of an old-fashioned apple pie the lady down the street made for me. Alright, I'll try it if you say so. Smiling bitterly, Maribel looked at the clock on the wall and turned towards me. Isn't it time you should head home? Your parents will worry. Oh, it's alright. I only live with my grandmother. Besides, she always says boys should be more adventurous. I tried to keep it cheerful, but her red eyes turned a little worried. I see. Sorry to hear that. Don't worry about it. I might have sounded rude, but I hate receiving sympathy. I know it's childish to think so, but I'm still at an age where I can have a little leeway, right? But I should probably go home now. Grandma shuts me out for dinner when I'm late. Well, then I'll see you out. That's okay, I can go back on my own. Using the soft, springy cushion on my seat, I stood up. I'm back again, waving goodbye to Maribel as she cleaned up the tea set and ran outside. The north wind stings my cheeks. Shivering from the cold, I looked up at the sky and saw the thin moon between the mountain tops. Oh no, Grandma, I said with a whimpering voice. I left late at night to Crimson Castle again, but she already found out when I came back and gave me a spanking. I forgot that Grandma sleeps early at night, but wakes up even earlier in the morning. Call me stupid. Eek! As I fell flat on my desk, a blue Satan ribbon waved in front of me. Good morning. Cursing silently in my head, I looked up at the cheerful voice. Just as I expected, there stood my only classmate of my age. Violetta Bubka. From the outside, she looks like a cute girl with her blonde hair and a layered bob. She gets mad when I say it wrong. Matched with beautiful blue eyes. She moved from a big city last year to her father's hometown, Courtly, so she's way more elegant than other girls, but she had an attitude from hell. Good morning. What is it? Violetta widened her nostrils as I answered in a snotty tone. Well, you're in a bad mood. Not nice to someone who brought you some big news. Let me guess, you bought a new ribbon or something, right? Violetta was a bit mad at my negligent attitude, but she said, a transfer student of our age is coming today. That's big news. I straightened up and looked at Violetta. No kidding. Hey, so is the transfer student a he or a she? It's a girl as far as I can tell from the distance. She's too cute a girl to be a match for a monkey like you. I never asked you anything like that. Oh, a girl, huh? I was a little disappointed. If the new student was a boy, I could have made friends to work on the craft. Together. Yo, I feel that, brother. Contrary to what Violetta said, the student called in by the teacher was a boy. But... wow! I saw why Violetta mistook him as a girl. Pretty green eyes and a cute face. Fair hands and skin that hasn't seen much sun. Kind of reminds me of Yuki from Fruits Basket. Just a little bit. Not the hair, but like the posture. What can I say? Give him some skirts and he'll look like a girl. I'm really disappointed. I don't think he's the type that will understand my love for crafts. Glancing over the class, with all the girls blushing and whispering, Violetta blushed up to her ears with her mouth wide open. I just felt dejected. He introduced himself with a tense voice. My name is Reese Farlane. Nice to meet you. Hi Reese, what's your favorite hobby? Violetta raised her hand, still blushed. She's probably trying to impress him before the other girls snap out of their crushed trance. I play violin. I enjoy reading. Oh, he must be straight out of a romance novel. Ignoring the buzzing class, the teacher tells Reese to sit next to me in the stairs and starts the lecture. I don't mind, but how does Reese feel about it? I shook my hand slightly and placed my textbook between me and Reese. He shuddered briefly at the ruffling noise. Can I share your textbook? That's what I meant to do. I nodded bluntly. Keeping his distance as to not invade my space, he peeped into my textbook. You don't have to be so hesitant, Reese shuddered his shoulders again. Words. Yes, but this is my first time. What's your first time? This is getting to be like one of those late-night radio dramas. Well, I've never been to school before. Huh? Where were you living before? Judging by his clothes and face, I can't believe he's from some backwater town without schools. Well, I never got to hear him finish his words. When I felt the sunlight from the window blocked, the teacher was standing there with a smirk on her face. No talking during class, boys. We hurriedly looked down at the textbook. Say, aren't you at an age you should be going to school? Maribel asked while she read the wonders of the Emma motor across the table from me. Well, yeah. How's that going for you? Are you not spending too much time with me and forgetting to socialize with your friends? It's kind of sad, but I don't have any friends of my age. Well, boys of my age, at least. Wait a sec, I forgot about the transfer student. I felt the corners of my mouth drop at the thought. Did you suddenly remember something? I jumped a bit where her sudden question. Your thoughts appear on your face. Maribel set her book down and looked into my face. Is my face that easy to read? Yes, you're the type that shows everything on your face. I never noticed that. Scratching my head, I continued. Actually, a new student came to our class today, but he's a real girly kind of guy, and I can't seem to get to like him. He even plays violin. That's a tender subject, answered Maribel, twirling a pen in her hand. But it is such men that possess a strong manly side to appreciate the finer things in life, no matter how many call them girly. Is that really how it is? I don't think so. That's how it is. See for yourself. With that remark, Maribel laughed. Chapter 2 is done. Moving on to Chapter 3. Whoops, I have to be near Caitlin. Class finally ended for the day. Reese, you really look like the pianist Karina Farlane. What she does has nothing to do with me. So you're really her son? Hey, can you get me her autograph? I'll even pay you for it. I packed up my books into my bag as I watched Violetta and her friends surround Reese, wearing a helpless look on his face. I understood Reese's feelings about not wanting others to talk about their mothers. I would have stopped them, but I have already promised to meet Maribel today. Toting my canvas pack, I headed out to the school gate. I think I forgot something. I stood there trying to think about it, but since I couldn't remember, it probably wasn't that important. With a light skip, I headed for the sweet shop. I was gonna buy that apple pie I promised Maribel. I want apple pie now. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning now. Counting my coins, someone pulled on my sleeve as I was about to take the steaming apple pie. Uh-oh, could it be my teacher? As I timidly turned around, Reese was standing there with his hands on his hips. You shouldn't buy sweets after school. Oh, it's you, Reese. Let me go, please. I playfully put my hands together and winked at him, but Reese looked at me with a stern face. No way, it's against school rules. Darn, why is he being such a goody-goody? I pulled my sleeve away from him. Don't be so picky, you're getting on my nerves. I just wanted to... He flinched away, but rebutted in a small voice. I can't hear you, speak up. I took the pie out of the lady's hands, who was taken aback by our conversation. Reese called my name as I ran away, but the voice was soon lost in the distance. The soft sunlight falling on the rooftop deck was clear as glass. The sky above us was blue as a robin's egg. As I enjoyed the sunbath, Maribel cast a side glance at me. If it were winter, the sun would have already set, griped Maribel as she looked up at the sun through her sunglasses. She's also wearing a costume today to shield her from the sun. Yeah, probably, I answered passively as I held the craft in my left hand and measured the wind with my right fingertip. There's no sincerity in your words. Not answering to that, I am the craft of the sky. The sound of my heart pounding rings in my head. I heard Maribel hold her breath. A gentle east wind blew on my cheeks. Then, feeling a gusty wind coming, I let the craft go with a holler. Go! The craft sliced through the winds and flew down with great speed down in the inner court of Crimson Castle. The autumn sun fell as I searched feverishly for the craft. Wandering around with a lamp that red and blue lent me, Maribel, who was out of her costume by now, called my name, Jack. We stood there silently as we looked down in the beautiful mosaic patterned fountain where the broken craft laid. What did I do wrong? I mumbled to myself as I stepped into the fountain and picked up the craft. We'll look into that later. Jack, you'll catch a cold if you don't come out of the water, said Maribel with a kind and gentle voice. When I thought about it later, it was that kindness that triggered it, but at that time, I was stupefied by the sudden tears gushing from my eyes. Jack? Maribel called me with a wondering tone as I stood still in the fountain. Seeing my face, she slightly held her breath. Thankfully, she didn't say a word. I love this art. That is so nice. Wordless, I sat on the edge of the fountain and tried to wipe the endless flow of tears with my sleeves. Jack, use this. Sitting next to me, she softly handed me her handkerchief. Will you listen to my story? She nodded quietly. I'm obsessed with aircrafts because a long time ago, my mother, who's a migrant worker in Slayheim, brought me a model aircraft as a gift. Maribel's face was hidden from the backlight, so I I was always playing with the aircraft. Started modifying it so I can fly it farther, and it made me feel as if I can fly with it to my mother. But I always failed. Failure after failure. I feel so lousy and worthless on my helplessness. There, Jack. It might be so, but... Her words stopped abruptly. Who's there? A small scream was heard from the shadows, surprised by Maribel's incisive voice. For a moment, complete silence fell over the area. Maribel stood in front of me and yelled, "Give up and show yourself!" Out from behind the bushes came Reese Farlane. I'm sorry, you forgot your homework, so I wanted to hand it to you. All the blood in my body rushed into my face. Of all the people, he had to be the one to listen in. You've been eavesdropping. My earlobes were hot from embarrassment. I didn't mean to. The pounding vessels in my head blocked his words. Reese continued to apologize, but I pushed him aside and ran to the transporter. A sudden rush of weightlessness struck. The next second, the world turned white. A week went by. I completely ignored Reese, who was giving me an apologetic glance every once in a while. I wasn't happy with the fact that he got to know Maribel after that either. I thought to myself, hey, grow up. But I'm still just a kid. Today, Maribel promised to fix the noise on my grandma's radio. Tossing my textbook into my pack, I saw Violetta coming towards me. Hey, don't rush so much or you'll... Hey Jack, Reese is gonna come to my house and play the violin for us. Would you like to, Just as I thought, Violetta tripped on my pack, which contained my crafted radio, and crashed loudly. Violetta? What's with the scary look, Jack? Fine, I'll pay for the damages. It's just a cheap toy. Why the nerve? Something snapped inside of me. It's not about the money. You know how much effort I put into it? You know how much I treasured it? Hey, is it something to get upset about? It's just a piece of junk no matter how you look at it. That's not the problem, you spoiled brat. I continued in my head as I stuck my shaking hand into my pack. As I expected, the craft was broken into bits. Luckily, Grandma Dahlia's radio was undamaged and its mahogany finish glowed in the sunlight. With both bitterness and relief mixed together, I stood up without saying a word. Maribel invited me to the underground laboratory today. Now this is amazing. There were many kinds of monsters inside water tanks lined up against the wall. It was an unearthly sight. Ha ha ha, this one can only live underwater. Can you see its lungs? The Vermilion over there, contrary to its appearance, has a refined taste for good music and will behave itself when you play some music for it. Boy, that's amusing. Maribel walked up to a metallic workbench and stopped. Dear me, I forgot to call my assistants. I'm going back to get red and blue, so stay right there. Don't touch any of the machines, Jack. I knew she was having fun showing me around, but to be so immersed to forget about her assistants. Okay, I got it. She gave me a worried look as I chuckled, but turned around and went up the stairs. This place is really something. I looked around again at the seemingly endless rows of specimen tanks. The moonlight passing through the water tank lit the whole place blue. It was unreal, even mystifying. Releasing my breath, I leaned against the wall behind me. Then, along with a small alarm, a plate full of switches came rising up. What is it? Did I push a button when I leaned back? Anyway, I better put this thing back before Maribel returns. I approached the panel and tried to push it back into the floor. Then, suddenly... I literally jumped by the sudden alarm. What's the matter? Maribel came dashing into the lab holding a toolbox in her arms. Acknowledging what happened in the room, her face immediately turned blue. Jack, why did you release the monster? What's that? I just tried to push this panel back in and... the Vermilion is out of its tank. What? This is bad. If it gets to the transporter, it'll attack the town. Oh my god. I felt the blood draining from my face. Maribel, can't we do something? Jack, I'll activate the device to put it back into its tank with red and blue. I'll come after I'm done. You try to stop it from getting near the transporter. I got it. I ran up the stairs, skipping a step with each jump. The footprints in the court headed straight for the teleporter. Despite its lumpy appearance, this monster is pretty darn smart. Darn it! Cursing, I followed its footprints to the transporter. A bad feeling brewed in my heart. Materializing at the outskirts of town, I ran full speed after the monster. Under the moonlit street, I found the monsters confronting Reese and Violetta. Turning towards them, it opened its large mouth gleefully to feast on its terrifying prey. As my brain shook with despair, the words Maribel said earlier struck me like lightning. It'll behave itself when you play beautiful music. Reese, play the violin. Jack, why are you here? Violetta, I'll explain that later. Please do it, Reese. Please, Reese. I clasped my hands together and prayed. Reese readied his bow with a flowing swing. A moment later, the violin started to sing. The beautiful melody of his violin brought all time to a halt. Like a cat fawning over his master, the monster let out a small cry and crouched in front of Reese. At the same moment, balls of light like fireflies covered the monster. The silhouette of the vermilion slowly faded away. When I looked around, I found Maribel's blonde shadow by a tree. I pointed my thumb up, returning the thumbs up sign. She disappeared into the darkness. The last passage of the melody finished, I slowly walked towards Reese. While putting his violin into the case, he looked up a little surprised with his green eyes wide open. It's a little embarrassing, but there was something I had to say. I steadied myself and bowed my head down. Thank you, Reese. I was wrong about you. I took you for a coward. I'm really, really sorry. Saying everything in one breath, I lifted my face and nervously looked at him. Reese was smiling. Don't worry, I was at fault too. I even thought you were a crybaby, but really stubborn at heart. Don't remind me. I turned bright red and scratched my head. Oh, man. Oh, this is interesting. I like this. This is a cute little story. I need another drink break before I just read more. Chapter 4, The Colors of Autumn. Leaves turn yellow and red. Flow with the smell of nuts in the wind. I love autumn, muttering to myself like old Forester Caravan. I took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. Here comes... Hiya, morning. Reese smiled, carrying a leather case. Good morning, it feels really nice today. Yep, is that a violin case you have? Yeah, but why? I pressed X too fast, dang it. Wait, can I quit? Yeah. I wasn't super far in. Yep, is that a violin case you have? Yes, but why? Being able to play instruments is amazing. All I can play are cymbals or drums at the school talent show. After laughing at my long sigh, he took the violin into his arms. I was planning to practice in the music room after school. I didn't want to bother my uncle at home. Uncle? Who's that? Come to think of it, I've never heard him talk about his family. Courtleigh is a tiny town. There's only 17 students at grade school, all grades combined. So when the new resident comes, the whole town spreads rumors about them whether they like it or not. But there were no such rumors about Reese, which means... The question marks that flew in my head must have shown up on my face. Reese smiled wryly and said he's the Forester Caravan. Huh? Old Caravan? I studied hard at Reese's slender white face. You're related to that old forest bear of a man? You don't look alike at all. Genes are so mysterious. Yes, I see. Well, I guess it's no surprise that nobody spreads rumors about you when you live so far out of town. I think so, Mr. Beckson. Call me Jack. I hate being called Mr. The teacher should be the only one to call me by that name. Then, Jack, would you like to come over to my place today? Today, huh? I have a promise with Maribel. Then let's call Maribel too. I'll make some sweets while you invite her. Sweets? A little surprised, I looked at Reese. Uh-huh. My mother was a good cook, but she didn't like anything sweet. If I wanted to have some, I had to bake it myself. I'm pretty confident about my cooking. I'm impressed. That's kind of neat. Some 11-year-old. Me, on the other hand, only knew Grandma's cooking. Or maybe they were talking about Reese, I don't know. And bake me some apple pie, the one with the crunchy sugar inside. Huh? That totally sweet one? Reese put on a frown for a second, but smiled again and said, Alright, I'll make it if you say so. Oh, I pressed, dang it! Dang it! I was trying to look at the art. I'm so sorry. Wouldn't be a Nova playthrough if this was like a perfect session that everything just went well. That's what I meant to do. Oh, it's recess time. I suppress a yawn while I watch Violetta show off her white bobbin lace ribbon to the other girls. Does it feel so good to be envied by others? Grandma said all girls are like that, but I guess I can't relate since I'm not a girl. Violetta's cute, isn't she? Reese whispered next to me while I rubbed my sleepy eyes. Huh? What's so cute about her? She's kinda nice and innocent. Innocent? Her? You probably think so because she likes you. I gave a lukewarm response with chin in hand. No, it's not that. Besides, I'm used to having girls like me. You say the wildest things sometimes. I thought my jaws were gonna drop off. I have to admit, it's a pretty ribbon though, I thought to myself as I watched the girls frolic. Jack, the teacher's here. Okay, thanks. I rushed to take out my textbook and slate from my desk. As the autumn sun sets into the sky, Maribel, Reese, and I were enjoying a small tea party at the Forrester cabin. Say, you told me before that you've never been to school, but your grades are pretty good. My mother's coworkers taught me. Coworkers? Was your mom a teacher? I put my hand up to my chin. No, she belonged to a band of musicians traveling across the country. It's no wonder that you're such a well-rounded young boy. Your apple pie was excellent, too. Maribel smiled with whipped cream still on her lips. Was it good? I'm glad. It was my first time baking apple pie, so I wasn't too confident. Reese's face brightened up. Aye, the soreness of apple mixes well with the sweet brown sugar, said Maribel as she asked for seconds. Thank you, I'm delighted. As Reese tried to slice a new pie, the door opened with a loud crack. Under the moonlight stood Violetta. Violetta, what brings you here at this time of night? Violetta answered as Reese panicked. My ribbon was stolen, so I was looking for it and heard that a stranger was seen at Reese's place. Wait, so you're telling me that my guess is the culprit? Well, I can trust the people in town, but... Violetta, that's way too rude. Calming Reese down, Maribel stood up without making a sound. I have no need for such a thing. I seek not what is inferior to what I already have. Then she took out a ribbon from her bag. It's so... Beads of sweat rolled on her forehead as Violetta fixed her gaze on the intricate laces of the ribbon, clearly a work of master. It was handed down to me by my mother. Maribel grinned arrogantly. I sincerely doubt you can appreciate its true value. Aw, Maribel, that's too cruel. Turning pale white, Violetta walked out of the cabin and closed the door. She walked staggeringly away as if she was walking in her sleep. Leaving a bitter taste in our mouths, we quietly looked away from each other. Well, that was the end. That was a much shorter chapter. You get the feeling that it's deep into autumn when gentian flowers bloom. I looked back at Reese's voice as I walked, kicking the falling leaves. Yeah, it's gonna start snowing soon. They even say November is snow waiting month. Is that so? You sure are smart. No, it's nothing like that. I've never seen snow, so I'm really looking forward to it. I just thought of snow waiting month because it seemed appropriate. When it snows, Grandma makes me shovel the snow off the roof. I don't look forward to it much. Aha, I guess living in snow country has its own problems, Reese laughed and shrugged his shoulders. Then his smile suddenly froze. Huh? What is it? I tracked his line of sight as if his lips trembled. Focusing my eyes on it, I gasped. Reese was looking at the headlines on the station newsstand. The headline read, Popular pianist Karina F. in love with Slayheim Orchestra violinist. You look exactly like your mother, Karina Farlane. Violetta's words from some time ago crossed in my head. Could it be? I quietly peeked at Reese's face. Ugh, his big eyes were all misty. I couldn't stand watching him so sad. You wanna go see the snowplow that's inside the station's engine house? Mission failed. I didn't want to make it seem like sympathy, but it came out too blunt. As I clicked my tongue looking off to the side, Reese rubbed his eyes and smiled gently. I've never seen a snowplow. Alright then, good timing. Although it would have been better if we could see it moving. It's got a pointy head and shoves all the snow off flying like this. It's really cool. I kind of over-exaggerated it, but I'm not good at explaining, okay? I'll continue to describe it to Reese. Really? Makes me want it to snow even more. Oh, Reese stopped walking again. Hey Jack, isn't that Maribel? Reese pulled his hands out from his pocket and pointed towards the station platform. You sure? Why would she come here? Over there, you see? You're right. There's no mistaking that strange costume. What are you doing, Maribel? Ah, it's you two. A friend I made over a shortwave radio owns a cottage near this town. We promised to meet when she comes over to the Crimson Foliage. Huh? Is she a girl? Reese asked casually. Yeah, she's a girl just like me. A girl just like you? What is it, Jack? Do you have a problem with that? Well, I continued to say no, but the steam whistle blew over my words. Maribel waved her hand at one of the passengers getting off of the train. You there? You must be Anastasia. Anastasia is another Wild Arms 2 callback. Hearing her name called, the lady turned around slowly. Her long black hair gently swayed and I smelled a nice fragrance. Wow, she was a beautiful young lady about 3 years older than me. The beauty mark under her eye makes me, my heart thump. I tried to hold myself while my heart beat loudly. Yes, you must be Maribel. I didn't expect you to really come in costume, she continued. Maribel smirked. Ah, yes, these two are my followers. This is Jack and Reese. Followers? Reese whispered and crinkled his nose. Taking no heed of him, Maribel continued. They insisted on being your guides today, using them to your heart's content. Isn't she going too far? But when I was greeted by a smile from this beautiful girl in a white coat, the brusque words from Maribel disappeared from my head. Nice to meet you. Oh my, don't be so nervous. You're making me nervous too. Miss Anastasia laughed jokingly. Nice to meet you too. Yes. Me and Reese nodded up and down and saw each other's cheeks blush red and felt really embarrassed. I'll leave the planning up to you. Miss Anastasia looked down at us with apparent enjoyment as she exchanged a meaningful glance with Maribel. Something smells fishy, but I'll just let it go. After a small discussion with Reese, how does a picnic sound by a nice steam sound? Or how does a picnic by a nice steam sound? I've been reading too long. There's a great view of the town's trademark drawbridge too. That was the plan we came up with. Miss Anastasia gave us a nice smile and patted our shoulders in approval. Yes, that's a wonderful plan. Let's go. We turned our back to the station and walked off. Isn't it too cold for you? Although the weather was nice, it's already late autumn. The cold might be too sharp for people from the city. If it's about me, there's no need to worry. The nice sun will warm me up. Scones, sandwiches, apple pies are arranged on the mat, rolled luscious scents that increased our appetites. My, they look delicious. Miss Anastasia laughed appreciatively. Chow down! And off to the food we went. You really do eat a lot, but it's too good, said Miss Anastasia while she bit into the egg sandwich. I'm flattered if you say so. We picked the eggs in that sandwich from the chicken that me and my uncle look after. Ah, so it's direct from the Reese family. Yes, it's really good, Miss Anastasia replied gleefully to Reese. Attracted by her smile, Reese also smiled happily. He's usually the bashful type, but it looks like Miss Anastasia had the upper hand on him. Hey, isn't that? I saw the Bubka sisters coming from the side road of the bridge with a basket in hand. Finding us, Violetta came running down the hill, raising a shrill voice until she quieted down and her blue eyes opened wide, finding Reese talking cheerfully with Miss Anastasia. Uh-oh, we've been found out. I had a bad feeling about this. Is something wrong, Jack? No, it's nothing. I was caught a little off guard and returned a taut smile. Ah, that was so delicious. As she rubbed her tummy in delight, she started to nibble on the sweets. And Maribel brought us today. How can you still be hungry? Haha, you know what they say, sweets go to a different tummy. Besides, she continued, taking Reese's hands, you two have to eat more, especially you, Reese. Your wrists are too thin. Wrists? Reese flushed red and froze like a picture. Not noticing, Miss Anastasia skimmed over Reese's fine fingers. Oh, do you play the violin, Reese? Yes, I do. Reese nodded nervously. That's what I thought. I learned how to play too. Look, we have cutlasses at the same spot. Right then, a shadow came over me. I looked up and saw a blue ribbon swinging in front of me. Good day, how do you do? Violetta was smiling with fixed eyes that scared the living daylights out of me. Fine, thank you. This is a wonderful town, Miss Anastasia replied nonchalantly, as if she hadn't noticed anything. Tourist? You don't seem to be a relative of Reese's. Yes, she is, but Violetta, that's a rude way to say it. Violetta's eyes slanted up. What? Are you telling me that an occasional tourist is more important than your own classmate? That's not what I mean, Violetta. You understand, don't you? Ah, Reese, you fool. You're only going to fire her up even more. Maribel and I exchanged glances in suspense. Violetta put her hands to her hips and cornered Reese. That's what I meant. Didn't you feel anything when she pawned your hand so indecently? Indecently? Reese was bewildered by the word that may not have existed in his world. That's right, she kept fondling your hand. Violetta pointed her chin up and glared challengingly at Miss Anastasia. But Miss Anastasia still had the upper hand in every respect. She gently warded Violetta's glare and replied with a smile. Uh-huh, yours truly is a very kinky lady, she said as if it were nothing. And she approached the stunned Violetta and whispered something into her ears. Leaving behind Violetta, who looked taken aback, Miss Anastasia took her coat and stood up. It's about time for my train home. Thank you all for everything today. It was so much fun. We'll see you off to the station, watching us stand in a hurry. She titteringly bowed her head. In that case, I'd be obliged. The lights of the train heading into the mountain gradually grew smaller and disappeared into the afterlight. Lowering the hand that I was waving, I looked towards Maribel and whispered into her ear. I wonder what Miss Anastasia said to Violetta. What? Did you expect I'd overhear the conversation with my hearing? Maribel glanced at me with an amazed look. I nodded as I blushed red for the upteenth time today. Maribel shrugged her shoulders and pushed the hood off of her head, brushing her ruffled hair back. Well, I guess I can tell you. What she said was... If you really like him, be more honest with yourself. Ah, that explains it. As I nodded deeply, Maribel sighed and left me with riddling words. I wish she would have said those words to you as well. Oh, dude. Okay. That's 5 chapters down. We still have, like, what? 6 chapters left? Yeah, 6, because there's 11. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna make this. I'm at 47 minutes of recording. I don't think I'm gonna make all 11 chapters like an hour and a half long video. Maybe I'll do like 6 chapters in one, 5 in the other. Take a look at this, it's great. Calling over the Reese, I opened the classroom window. White snow fell down from the black clouds. Do you think it'll snow enough? According to the radio this morning, I think it will. Nice, that's good news. We looked at each other and grinned. We had a promise between Maribel that we'll get to play together with a snowmobile when it's snowed. This year, the first snowfall was belated compared to previous years, but it looks like we'll get our first chance today. I closed the window as I kept grinning. I never felt a lecture go so long before. As soon as the bell rang, I packed up my books to get ready. Then Violetta, with her cheeks flushed, came over to our desks. Hey, would you like to play checkers at my place today? We can't go outside because of the snow, and I wanted to apologize about the run and about the ribbon, too. Slightly withdrawing her eyes from him, she twiddled the tips of her wavy blonde hair. It slightly hurt my conscience, but Reese replied in a leisurely tone. Thanks for inviting me, but I already have prior engagements today. I'm sorry about that. Oh, is that so? Feeling her queen-like pride torn apart, Violetta walked back to her desk. Watching her take her frustration out on the other girls, I shook in my head. Hey Reese, you should be a little more kind to her. Huh? What's that about? Snow must have been really curious to him. He was busy stomping footprints in the snow when he turned around and smiled innocently. Well, it's okay if you don't understand. I backed off and looked at the sky. If it's this clouded, Maribel should be able to come out with some bundling up. I felt something in the back of my head. I stopped my feet and looked around. What's up, Jack? No, it's just that I sort of felt someone was watching us. Someone watching us? But my uncle said he'll be making baskets at home today. Yeah, I guess nobody wants to go into the mountains on a day like this besides old Canavan. Words. Well, it was probably just my imagination. I've been waiting for you two. As we opened the gates and went into the room adjacent to the library, Maribel, who was wearing long pants for a change, greeted us in. Care to drink something warm first? Exchanging quick glances, we both answered at the same time. No way, we're going riding first. Very well, that's what I thought you'd say. Then let's depart for the sea of snow. I'll show you how athletic I am. Ha ha ha, but I have experience. I won't lose either. We walked with springy steps as we headed for the garage. Huh? Maribel suddenly fell silent. Ugh! Following her line of sight, we grunted unconsciously. A trembling shadow in the front of the garage. It was Violetta standing there with purple cheeks. She must have tumbled many times. Her blonde hair was covered with snow and her clothes were wet and muddy. Accompanied by glaring blue eyes, her appearance had an awesome impact. I knew something was going on when that monster attacked us, and the time I caught a glimpse of you at Reese's house. While Reese and I froze in silence, she ground her teeth and yelled, "Let go of them, you monster!" Violetta, pretending not to hear Reese's voice stopping her, she approached Maribel. What vicious teeth! And your breath isn't turning white. You're really not human. What are you trying to do by deceiving them? Violetta tries to grab Maribel's shoulders with both hands, but Maribel silently avoids her moves. You're correct, human. I am indeed not human. The redness of her eyes turned darker. Her long blonde hair rises up, breaking the laws of gravity. My brain is yelling at me to stop Maribel, but my legs refuse to move an inch. So, Maribel's white hand extends towards Violetta's forehead, and then she uttered short-form words against the wide-eyed and rigid Violetta. Along with a flare, Violetta's body collapsed to the ground. Scooping her up into her arms, Maribel looked towards us with a colorless face. The clacking sounds of my teeth felt like they were coming from someone else. A high-pitched note rang deep inside my throat. Grandma once told me that chickens cried like this when they crushed chickens that can't lay any more eggs. I could tell that part of my head was still cool, but I couldn't pry my eyes from her as if bewitched. As we stood there, Maribel approached us without a sound with Violetta in her arms. Reese and I stepped back subconsciously. Seeing that, her face crumpled up. Go home. Never set foot here again. No, Maribel! We're sorry. It's not that. Maribel kept her back to us and went inside the castle. Red and Blue looked at us with a puzzled look and then followed her inside. Maribel! We shouted her name, but the gates of the Crimson Castle roared shut in front of our noses. The noise of sleet rattled the roofs in the afternoon. Did you finish writing? Reese, wearing a blue apron, came peeking in while stroking his neck. Hey, cut it out! I dived flat onto the table to cover the letter from Reese's eyes. Don't worry, I didn't see it, but is your aircraft really strong enough to fly over the castle wall with a leather strapped to it? Hey, that's not nice. Have more faith in your airplane specialist, the one and only Jack. You say fate, but can't you simply just fly a plane with a message on it through the openings of the castle fence? I guess that would be easier. As I went deep into thought, the sweet smell of roasting apples and cinnamon came trickling in the room. Did you sprinkle a brown sugar for me? Those are your tastes. Reese said coldly and started to whip the cream. You're putting the whipped cream on it? Oh, that's the best. As I drooled at my thoughts, Reese looked at me with an appalled look. Hey, weren't you going to show Maribel your sincerity? Yes, Maribel refused to meet us after that incident, so Reese and I racked our brains together to come up with a way to apologize to her. His plan was to bake her an apple pie. My plan was to write an apology letter and fly it to her with my plane. I took my teacher's advice. Do what you want others to do for you, for others for this plan. But I honestly had no idea how Maribel would feel about it. I guess she hated us, thinking that she's different from us. Your place feels really cozy, I said as I calculated design patterns of a long-distance flight-capable aircraft on the grid paper. You think so? It smells great. The cold from the snow doesn't come in either. I agree. I like the smell of moist cypress logs, too. Reese replied while peeking into the oven. Just then, a loud noise came from the door. What's that? As we watched the door in surprise. The door cracked open. There was Mr. Caravan, owner of this cabin, standing with his hands on his head. Ah, my legs slipped on the sleet. Old Canavan growled like a bear as he shook the water off of his fur overcoat. You slipped. Are you alright, Uncle? Tapping Reese's head as he brought over a towel, Canavan gave a hearty laugh. I'm alright. The door might have cracked, though. By the way, Reese, where's that good smell coming from? Canavan sniffed his nose and grinned. No, it's not for you. That's for a gift I'm taking over today. To the little lady at Mr. Bubka's. Not knowing how to answer, Canavan, we lowered our eyes. Violetta's been cold to us ever since that incident. It seems her memory of Crimson Castle had been erased, but it's no wonder that we made her mad because of it. What's the matter? Was I wrong? Yes, it's somehow you don't know... Yes, it's someone you don't know. Say, Uncle, you're home early today. Aye. The sleet that's been falling today is melting down this new snow from yesterday. So I packed up earlier before an avalanche starts up. For real, is this house safe? Ha ha ha, Jack, you're a worrywart. Avalanches start far deeper into the mountains. The forest here will stop the snow long before it can reach here. Reese and I faced each other. Say, would a big avalanche be dangerous if it were a great castle? Let's see. It depends. Avalanches have great power. There was a 300-yard wide snowpack that slid down across a 2-mile perimeter before. When a big one like that comes down, no building is safe, said Canavan as he took out some sherry from the cabinet. So that means I think she'll be safe with all those advanced technologies, but if we grit our teeth and ran out of the cabin. Hey, wait! What's up with you guys? Canavan yelled with a bottle in one hand. Reese replied back, still wearing the apron. Sorry, Uncle. Don't worry, we'll be right back. Running through the muddy mountain road, we ran, slipping, in the transporter to the castle. Lucky for us, the gates were unlocked as we ran into the castle unstopped. Marivelle, where are you? Our voices echoed through the creepy stone wall of the hallway. Jack, Reese. Marivelle was there holding her forehead, blinking her eyes in astonishment after crashing and landing on her rear. Red and Blue hovered next to her holding a ladder. Why did you come here on a risky day like this? Marivelle was mad where her long hair brisked up. Canavan told us an avalanche was near. We thought you might not know. And barriers to stop the avalanches are a standard issue for us Crimson Nobles living for thousands of years. That's true. I'm sorry, Marivelle. I guess there was nothing for us to worry about. We're sorry. She stared at us with her face red from anger. What I'm angry about is why you two came all the way out here putting yourselves at risk. Her red eyes, which glowed like red flames, fixed on us as we shrunk even further. But we were so worried. Yeah. We thought that if we lost you, we got so scared and... Fools, Marivelle said with a small voice. Fools, both of you. Potato heads, even. On top of that, you're complete and helpless nincompoops. Contrary to her words, her face blushed red and looked away. Continuing to speak in a tiny voice, so there's no way but to guide you to myself. Marivelle! Reese and I face each other and then rush to hug her together. No, you can't do that! I think I am going to make this 2 videos. I'm at like 58 minutes of recording, so we will divide this into 2 parts.